I'll leave the specific question about the foul to my colleague, Commissioner Engelbert. I mean, I other than as a fan, obviously, it's nothing new in basketball that there's sort of welcome to the league moments, especially for heralded rookies. But of course, I want to see Caitlin treated fairly. And
what if I told you the WNBA just let its most valuable asset get broken? On its biggest weekend of the year, Caitlin Clark, the rookie who brought millions of new eyes to women's basketball, who shattered every ratings record in sight, and who single-handedly boosted an entire league's value, is now sidelined with a re-aggravated injury. But this isn't just a groin strain, this is a full-blown disaster that reaches from the hardwood to the commissioner's office, all the way to Adam Silver's desk. Because make no mistake, this didn't have to happen, and now that it has, the financial, cultural, and political damage might be irreversible. The truth, the WNBA didn't just lose a player, they lost control. And if you're wondering how a billion-dollar empire could let this happen, buckle up. Because the deeper we go, the more this starts to look like a league sabotaging its own future, from the inside out.
I think that I have a huge passion for the game of basketball. I have a huge passion for women's leadership. And I think, I'm really excited to be entering into the WNBA commissioner role as a real platform for all of these players, the owners, the whole basketball ecosystem, quite frankly, to drive it, to the next level.
Let's break it all down. The injury, the outrage, the officiating collapse, and why NBA leadership may be seconds away from stepping in. This isn't just sports anymore, it's survival. Caitlin Clark officially pulled out of both the WNBA All-Star Game and the three-point contest after re-aggravating a groin injury in the final minute of a win against the Connecticut Sun. On the surface, it sounds like a precautionary move, a young star resting to avoid further damage. But this wasn't just any weekend, and this wasn't just any player. The WNBA built the entire All-Star event around Clark. It's in her home state of Indiana. Her face is on billboards, plastered across hotels, and featured in every promo leading up to the event. This was supposed to be her moment, a league finally cashing in on the buzz she generated all season. Instead, they're left with headlines about her absence and questions about how things were allowed to reach this point.
We're obviously marketing around all of our players, but I think Caitlin's lifting everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
Our arenas are packed, our viewership. I mean, this is a key part of why I was hired, is to look at how to bring in new viewers, new fans, the demographic. We're one of the most diverse demographics in sports, both on the court and now our viewership.
Yeah. It rocks, by the way, when you're in the stadium. We went and loved it.
What makes the timing even worse is that it comes during the most critical moment in the WNBA's recent history, CBA negotiations. The current agreement expires in 2025, and there's already talk of a potential lockout. The last thing the league needed was for its biggest star to be unavailable on its biggest stage, especially due to injury mismanagement. Then came Adam Silver's carefully chosen words. The NBA commissioner, someone who rarely steps into WNBA matters publicly, made it clear he wants Clark to be treated fairly and appropriately. That wasn't a compliment, it was a red flag. When the leader of the most powerful basketball league in the world starts weighing in, it's because something's gone wrong. Caitlin Clark isn't just a rookie phenom, she's a business engine. She's the reason the lights are brighter, the cameras are rolling, and the world is watching. And now that she's sidelined, the entire WNBA is starting to feel just how fragile their foundation really is. When a league is built around a rising star, protecting that star becomes priority number one. But under WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert, that hasn't been the case.
The refereeing in that WNBA is the worst in any sports. I see high school fucking basketball refs call better games than these WNBA refs. I'm being serious. There's a real problem. You have too many people in the league coming out and saying the refereeing sucks. And it does suck. Watching a game is so horrible sometimes. It's like, oh my God, do these refs know that they are like paid to make good calls?
If the WNBA is not rigged, they're doing a great job of making it look like it's rigged. Because if you guys didn't see the referees literally, they made a bad call. And if you guys have ever played sports, you know that like when a referee knows they've screwed up, they will do everything they can to not talk to the players.
Reese. In fact, her leadership, or lack of it, is one of the key reasons Caitlin Clark is watching from the sidelines instead of playing under the spotlight. Engelbert has repeatedly dodged questions about Clark, often shifting focus to other players like Angel Reese, even when the question had nothing to do with them. Sports journalist Christine Brennan pointed this out, saying Engelbert has a noticeable discomfort when it comes to directly addressing Clark's importance to the league. That alone is bizarre, especially when Clark is single-handedly driving record-breaking viewership and ticket sales. But it's not just the awkward deflections. Engelbert has also failed to stand up publicly for Clark when it mattered most, particularly after physical altercations and questionable no calls from referees. Take the Marina Mabry incident, for example. Clark was shoved after the whistle in a move that was clearly excessive. The initial call, just a technical foul. Engelbert remained silent.
Clearly, the biggest opportunities for the league are to enhance the fan experience, the player experience, for there to be a recognition of how important a time in women's leadership and the W's role in that. So this is just such a great time for everyone to rally around these WNBA players, attend the games, sponsor the WNBA, use it as part of your women's leadership platform. I think there's so much potential upside. I'm very excited.
It took massive public backlash for the league to upgrade the penalty to a flagrant 2, a decision that came far too late. This is the commissioner's job, to protect the league's stars, to speak out when lines are crossed, and to maintain credibility with fans, media, and players. Instead, Engelbert has opted for silence or vague generalities, even as coaches, analysts, and journalists demand accountability. Clark's popularity isn't just about her talent, it's about what she represents: growth, investment, hope. And when the commissioner of the league can't even bring herself to publicly defend the player driving that growth, it sends a message: you're on your own. The leadership vacuum is glaring.
Well, the one thing that's great about the league right now, we do sit at this intersection of culture and sport and fashion and music. Like, the WNBA players are really looked at now as kind of cultural icons.
True.
And when you have that, you have a lot of attention on you. There's no more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college rivalry, one white, one black.
And the longer Engelbert stays quiet, the louder the criticism grows, not just from outside voices, but from inside the league itself. When Caitlin Clark went down, so did the numbers, fast. Before her injury, nationally televised WNBA games were pulling in an average of 1.8 million viewers. After she was sidelined, that number plummeted to just 847,000. That's more than a 50% drop in viewership, practically overnight. And it wasn't just TV ratings that took a hit. Sports betting activity on Indiana Fever games fell off a cliff, with nearly half of the betting volume disappearing in just 1 week. Advertisers lost interest. Highlights vanished from trending pages. Even the casual buzz online, the kind that brings in new fans, slowed to a crawl.
She has a global platform now, not just a U.S. platform, so she's going to do just fine, as will the top players in the league, as every league does. Also, there's comparisons to the men. Those men's leagues are 75 to 120 years old. We're tipping off our 28th season. I would say if you looked at them 28 seasons in, we're further ahead. But I realize we still have a lot of work to do, and it's all about the ecosystem.
The message was clear. When Caitlin Clark isn't on the court, the WNBA loses its spotlight. It's no exaggeration to say she's been carrying the league's relevance on her back. Of the 23 WNBA games this year that drew over 1 million viewers, Clark played in 20 of them. You have to scroll all the way down to the 15th most watched game before you find one without her team. That's not just impressive, it's unprecedented. ESPN's ratings for WNBA games jumped 170% this season compared to last year. The ION network up 133%. And who is at the center of nearly every broadcast driving those numbers? Clark. The networks know it. The fans know it. Even the betting markets know it. Yet somehow the WNBA's leadership still hasn't adjusted to the reality that their financial future depends on keeping her protected, healthy, and on the floor. Because without her, everything slows down, from TV ratings to ticket sales to expansion talks. And if this kind of viewership crash continues, sponsors won't just pull back, they'll walk away. This wasn't just a small stumble for the WNBA. This was a clear sign that their growth isn't sustainable unless they figure out how to protect the one player they can't afford to lose. Caitlin Clark's injury wasn't just bad luck, it was the result of a broken system that's been ignored for far too long. The WNBA's officiating has been under fire all season, and the numbers back it up. According to Dr. Lucas Seehafer, a kinesiology expert, there have been 141 injuries across just 179 active players this year. That's nearly 80% of the league's athletes missing time, and most teams have only played around 40 games. Those numbers aren't normal, they're dangerous. But it's not just injuries, it's how they're happening. Over and over again, Clark has taken hits with no whistle, been shoved with no flagrant, and walked away bruised while refs looked the other way. The inconsistency is so blatant that even WNBA legends have started speaking out. During a live game broadcast, Hall of Famer Rebecca Lobo called out missed calls in real time, highlighting a play where Clark was grabbed multiple times without a single foul being called. And she's not the only one. Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White has repeatedly slammed officiating this season, saying it's been egregious and disrespectful. After one game, she said flat out, "Everybody's getting better except the officials." That wasn't a hot take. It was the truth. Across the league, coaches are echoing the same sentiment. Fouls aren't being called, players aren't being protected, and the rules are being enforced differently depending on who you are and what team you play for. That's not just bad refereeing, that's a failure of oversight. The WNBA's officials aren't even full-time, they're paid per game. Many of them split duties between the WNBA and NCAA, with little incentive or training to handle the speed, intensity, and stakes of a professional league that's finally under the national spotlight. And that spotlight is now exposing every flaw. When referees can't manage games, tempers flare, physicality escalates, and injuries become inevitable. That's exactly what's happened. It's not about a missed call here or there. It's a systemic breakdown that puts players at risk every single night. If one moment captured just how broken the WNBA's officiating has become, it was the Marina Mabrey incident. During a dead ball situation after the whistle, Mabrey shoved Caitlin Clark hard to the floor. Not during a play, not mid-possession. This was blatant, unnecessary, and dangerous. And yet the referees gave her a mere technical foul, not a flagrant, not an ejection, just a slap on the wrist. It was only after a massive public outcry from fans, analysts, and players that the league quietly upgraded the call to a flagrant 2. But by then, the damage was already done. The video went viral. The reaction was swift. Even Clark's own brother, Colin, posted online saying, "Make no mistake, this is on the reefing." When players' families are calling out officiating failures in public, it's not frustration, it's a warning that the league's inability to control games is putting lives and careers at risk. But the most concerning part? The silence from the top. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert said nothing meaningful about the incident. No public condemnation, no statement defending Clark, no promise of reform. Instead, she downplayed officiating concerns entirely, brushing them off with comments like, "No winning team ever complains about officiating. That's not leadership, that's dismissal." And fans noticed. The message sent that night was clear. If you're a star and someone cheap shots you, don't count on the league to protect you. You'll have to take the hit, get up, and keep playing, while leadership shrugs and fans rage. This wasn't just a missed call, it was a public embarrassment. And it proved that until the WNBA fixes its officiating problem, players like Caitlin Clark will continue paying the price with their health. What happened to Caitlin Clark is tragic, but it's not isolated. The officiating crisis and lack of player protection have been bubbling under the surface for years. Now it's finally boiling over, and it's not just Clark speaking through silence, it's the entire league screaming through chaos. Kelsey Plum, another star in the league, went on a post-game rant recently, furious after being roughed up with no fouls called. "I get fouled like that on every possession," she said. "There are multiple plays where they just come out swinging, and the refs don't call anything." Her frustration wasn't just emotional, it was a confirmation that this is happening to everyone, not just the rookie drawing headlines. Across the league, players and coaches say the same thing. The rules change from one end of the floor to the other. What's a foul for one player is ignored for another. A bump in the first quarter might be a whistle, but by the fourth, it's all fair game. That's not competitive balance. That's chaos being passed off as officiating. And the deeper you go, the worse it gets. WNBA referees aren't salaried, they're paid per game. Part-time contractors who often split time between the WNBA and NCAA. That means there's no centralized training, no strict accountability, and no real incentive to protect the players who are making the league millions. They're floating between two worlds, officiating at the highest level without being held to the highest standard. This isn't just a Caitlin Clark problem, it's a league-wide issue that's been swept under the rug for far too long. And now, the rug is on fire. Coaches are openly calling out the league, players are losing patience, and fans are watching, not just the games, but the cracks in the foundation. The truth is simple, the WNBA has outgrown its infrastructure. The talent is better, the spotlight is brighter, the money is bigger, but the system still stuck in the past. And unless something changes fast, the league risks losing not just its stars, but its credibility. Caitlin Clark isn't just a rising star, you know, she's the WNBA's entire business model right now. Her games aren't just well attended, they're record breaking. Her presence doesn't just boost viewership, it transforms networks. When she plays, the numbers skyrocket. When she doesn't, the floor falls out. Her return game after an earlier injury drew 2.2 million viewers, peaking at nearly 2.8 million, up 76% from last year's average WNBA broadcast on ABC. That wasn't a playoff, that wasn't a finals game, that was a regular season matchup, and it outdrew most men's college games. She's the driver behind nearly every ratings milestone the league has seen this year. Out of the top 23 WNBA games in 2024 that hit over 1 million viewers, Caitlin Clark was in 20 of them. ESPN's ratings jumped 170% year over year. Ion's coverage more than doubled. Advertisers are lining up, sponsors are investing, and every bit of that momentum ties back to one player, Clark. Even the financial forecasts tell the same story. The WNBA was projected to cross $1 billion in revenue this year, a number that seemed impossible just 2 years ago. And yet those projections only make sense if Clark is playing. If she's sidelined, that billion evaporates. The league's value is riding on her health, her face, and her ability to keep showing up. But right now, she can't. Not because of her work ethic, not because of a fluke injury, but because the system around her failed to protect her, failed to adjust to her impact, and failed to prioritize the one thing keeping the WNBA in national conversations. It's not just about one missed All-Star game, it's about what happens when your foundation starts to crack. And right now, with Clark off the court, the WNBA is realizing just how thin that foundation really is. Caitlin Clark missing the All-Star game wasn't just unfortunate, it was a wake-up call. The WNBA's failure to protect its most important player has exposed cracks in the foundation, inconsistent officiating, leadership silence, and a system that hasn't caught up to its own growth. This wasn't just about one injury, it was about a league unprepared for the spotlight it finally earned, and dangerously close to losing it. The WNBA is at a crossroads. Fix the problems or watch the momentum disappear. Like and subscribe for more in-depth WNBA news, updates, and real coverage of what's happening behind the scenes.